Welcome to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, on Instagram at Movies TV Mad 555, and on TikTok, of course, at Movies TV Mad XXX. And welcome to Thursday's edition of the dceu Daily. Now, YouTube is not working properly right now. You are not getting notifications for my videos. I'm not even getting my like counts or my view counts properly or till later on in the day. So please make sure you look for the dceu Daily every day and you like it and you share it, because no one is being told any videos are coming in, and YouTube keep on boring on about, refreshing, blah, blah, blah. No, YouTube, it is your fault. Please sort it out. It's not fair for little YouTubers like myself. Anyway, let's get on with today's show. Aquaman 2 is more complex than the first movie. This is what I want to hear, James Wan. A second movie should be more complex than the first movie, as was The Dark Knight, as was Empire Strikes Back, right? As was Superman 2, by the way. It was more complex than Superman the movie. I think that Batman Returns was more complex than the first Keaton and Burton Batman movie. What wasn't more complex than the first movie? Wonder Woman 84, the sequel to one of the best superhero movies ever made. Why was the first one more complex than the second one, Patty? Why aren't journalists asking her this? Why aren't they shoving a microphone in her face and doing a Brian Walden and saying, come on, Patty, tell us, why wasn't it more complex and more darker and more interesting? Why did you get away from the greatest supporting characters in comic book live action history? But James Wan knows what he's doing. He saved the DCEU. If not for his first Aquaman movie being so awesome that it made over $1 billion globally, I don't think the DCEU would exist at this point, coming after Justice League as well. Director James Wan says Aquaman 2 possesses more complexities than Aquaman, and it sends audiences on a labyrinth journey they did not expect. This is fucking exciting me. I'm literally, you don't know how I feel reading about this. I want to cry with joy. This is brilliant. And this is if I can read the man's name by Saeed Fadullah Hassani of Screen Rant. I did well there, I think. If the writer of this article ever sees this video, please comment down below and let me know the real pronunciation of your name. I can't even say that word properly. If I got it right, give me a thumbs up, please. Anyway, Aquaman 2 is more complicated than the original film. According to director James Wan, Games of Thrones vet Jason Momoa made his first turn as titular Arthur Curry for a small cameo in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, before returning for a more prominent role in the highly divisive Justice League. Ultimately in 2018, he got a solo venture of his own, which proved to be a massive success for the DCEU, becoming the franchise's first feature to net $1 billion at the box office, and only feature. That says a lot, doesn't it? A sequel was immediately put in development and is scheduled to release on December the 16th, 2022. By the way, Mission Impossible 7 has moved, and Top Gun Maverick has moved from, I think, is it December or November or whatever this year to next year. It's very compressed in the theatrical releases for 2022. Will Aquaman be the movie that's moved to 2023 or earlier on in 2022? We will have to wait and see. Maybe something will be said at Fandom about that. But one thing's for sure, this is the YouTube channel where you will get that update first. I have everything covered, I can promise you that. I may not tell you every kind of piece of footage from The Flash we've seen out there and every word spoken by a DCEU actor, but I tell you the important information, don't I now? Titled Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, by the way, I love this title. There isn't much that is currently known about the sequel, although one thing is for sure, and that is the original cast comprising of Momoa, Amber Heard, Mira, Patrick Wilson, Orm, Marius Oceanmaster and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, David Kane, Black Manta, will be making its return, with Abdul-Mateen II attached in a much bigger role than before. The movie has been filming in London since July, and so far only a few set photos have been released showcasing new locations such as the ice cave. With a dearth of the plot details, Helmer James Wan offered an update about the narrative structure of the forthcoming movie. Recently, during a virtual Q&A session where he opened up his mysterious horror movie *Malignant*, a film that he deliberately directed after Aquaman, James Wan discussed a bit about his next DCEU venture, revealing how it would differ from the original installment. Wan said that Aquaman 2 is decidedly more complex than the 2018 movie, and the reason for that is he understands that audience today is intelligent, so instead of giving them something predictable, easy to decipher, he directs them onto a twisting path that is intriguing and fun for him to create. Adding intricacies is a tried and tested strategy that Wan has learned on for his horror films, as well as for Fast and the Furious 7, and now he's returning to the same gimmick for Aquaman 2. It's not a gimmick, it's called depth. You should try it sometime. That's a good question. It really is for me all about telling the story that I'm telling in that particular film. The story and the characters. In the case of *Malignant*, it is a very windy story. Obviously, a lot of it is just me holding the cards in my hands and trying not to show it, and just trying to find degrees of how much we show and how much we don't show. And it's difficult because today's audiences are very savvy, very clever. They look at trailers, they look at posters, and they can kind of put things together. So the key is, how do I stay ahead of audiences today that are so savvy, but at the same time still come up with things that people quite haven't seen before? To me, one of the things I like to do is start with a story structure that is somewhat familiar, so it gives me a strong foundation to begin with. People can come and watch a film like *Malignant* and go, okay, I can kind of follow this because A, it's like a murdery mystery, and it's also like a detective thriller, and we've seen many of those. We kind of understand the structure of it, but within that, that's where I fuck things up. I pull that away and I start to take you on this labyrinth journey. It's that aspect that makes it fun for me. And it's not just in my horror films I try to do that, even in Fast and the Furious 7 and some degree in Aquaman 1, but definitely more so in Aquaman 2. There are more complexities in Aquaman 2 than in the first movie, and so this is just stuff that I learned along the way, and it's what I find intriguing as a filmmaker, and I try to make everything that I've learned from each film and sort of carry them with me to my next movie. He's a very interesting guy. How many filmmakers admit that us as an audience now are very savvy and very intelligent, and we work everything out? Look how everyone's working things out about Spider-Man No Way Home. He respects the audience. Very few movie makers today do that. Wan's new comments about Aquaman 2 second the statements from the film's co-stars who have previously alluded that the movie is more winding than the original Aquaman. Earlier, Wilson teased the sequel to be bigger and better, with Abdul-Mateen II also adding that the script is superior to the first films. This ties in with the idea of the movie being darker and deeper and more expansive in terms of world building. After all, this time around it's not just the original screenwriter David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick providing the input, it's also Momoa who has participated in the script writing. So by all means, Aquaman 2 is bound to be different from its predecessor. A point that is worthy to note here is that different and complex do not always mean better. Here we go. The one reason Aquaman performed so well at the box office was its sense of good, old-fashioned fun and joyful, energetic action, which were a radical diversion from the dark, gritty tone of previous DCEU lackluster films. What was lackluster? What was lackluster? You have to tell me which ones you think are lackluster. Of course, Wan is approaching Aquaman 2 differently to avoid repeatability and redundancy. Still, care must be taken so the sequel doesn't lose the enjoyability of the franchise's veneer. When it comes to filmmaking, Wan is a genius who knows what he is doing and what the audiences expect from him. So for now, audiences can safely count on Aquaman 2 being a thrilling, pleasurable ride that honours everything Wan built with Aquaman. Listen, the first film is amazing. Wan being very strict with the marketing, saying you are not releasing any trailers to have perfected this movie, because this movie was groundbreaking. You've never seen underwater, sequences so proficiently stunning. And Wan did that. Wan was under a lot of pressure for the first Aquaman. Coming after Justice League, this film had to work, and it did. I fucking loved it. Loved it. It was an amazing film. And I have no doubts this will be an amazing film as well. This film's a little bit controversial because people wanted Amber Heard sacked as Mira, and it hasn't happened. It goes back to that Ray Fisher slogan, doesn't it? What is it? Accountability over entertainment. But I say entertainment over accountability. Fuck accountability, because all you people, including Ray Fisher, screaming for the entertainment industry to be accountable, screaming for me and everyone in the world to be accountable. You want accountability from the whole world but yourselves. Think about your very lives. Have you never done anything wrong? Has Ray Fisher never done anything wrong? Has he been accountable for his wrongdoing? No. So if we are not accountable for our wrongdoings, why should the entertainment industry be accountable? We're human beings, we're flawed, we do bad things, we do great things. Amber Heard deserves to reprise her role because as far as I know, she's done nothing wrong in her performances as Mira. We've seen her in Justice League. We've seen her in Aquaman, right? She's been great. Her performances have been great all 3 times. So I don't have an issue with her. So this is a very, very exciting movie to me. And I have no idea what he's doing with this film. But it does sound very, very exciting. The final DCEU movie of 2022. And oh well, we have got a busy year. We've got lots of stuff on HBO Max. Don't forget Green Lantern Corps will be featured at DC Fandom. That's one of my most exciting panels. That's the one one of the ones I'm really looking forward to, as well as the Batman, the Flash, and the other movies coming out next year, Black Adam. Look, we've got a very, very exciting year. And Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, because I'm a fan of the first movie, and I have such trust in James Wan as a creative. I like him. I like the way he talks. He's a straight shooter. He doesn't bullshit. No one can say anything about Aquaman. It was comic book accurate, yes. Momoa doesn't look like the comic book Aquaman. I couldn't give a shit. Zack cast the right person. If you want representation and inclusion, you've got it in Momoa. We have Black Manta, played by a black actor. A brilliant actor, by the way. So, and he was brilliant. People saying Black Manta shouldn't have been in the first movie, and Jeff Johns forced him in there. Thank you, Jeff Johns, for forcing him in there. He was one of my favourite elements of the movie, and the kind of relationship between Arthur Curry and Black Manta was sensational. So I can't wait to see them pick up where they left off. Don't forget, we had that wonderful post-credits scene when he makes a deal with someone, Black Manta, to get Aquaman, aka Arthur Curry. So I couldn't be more excited for this movie, and I know you are as excited as I am, or you wouldn't be watching this video right now. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The people fighting for release the Snyder Cut had a very different mentality to the people fighting to restore the Snyderverse or to release the Air Cut or to make the Batman movie, or the Batfleck movie. Now I must admit, my favourite people right now probably are the people who are fighting to make the Batfleck movie. They're not the same people as the ones who want to restore the Snyderverse, even though I'm sure those people would love that to happen. Listen, something very, very interesting happened the other day when we saw WB and DC release a poster and a trailer for DC Fandom 2021, launching on October the 16th of this year. So I think most DC fans, if not all DC fans, and I'm talking about DC fans by the way, are very excited for that event. But unfortunately, not all of them, but some Snyder acolytes started their propaganda yet again. Let's do a Restore the Snyderverse hashtag and see who's got the biggest trend out of Restore the Snyderverse and DC Fandom. What happened? They beat Restore the Snyderverse, hashtag beat DC Fandom. So fucking what? What have you achieved? After Ansano's interview with Variety, we trended with over 1 million tweets. What happened? Did they restore the Snyderverse? No! Even though Snyder said that they'd have to listen after that. They didn't, right? You beat DC fandom. But let me ask you another question, a more interesting, delving question. What's going to trend on October the 16th? DC fandom or restore the Snyderverse? Let's see what happens on the day. Don't you think that people are going to be so excited that, you know, it's going to trend higher than, you know, Restore the Snyderverse has ever done? You can't win, because a hashtag trending with kind of this fandom, but not the outside people, kind of this echo chamber keeps on trending. But the problem is, with this echo chamber, it attacks directors, it attacks fans. What did someone say to me yesterday? Oh, people who blindly watch DC and support DC content. It's not blind support. We're excited for the 5 upcoming movies. We're excited for the Batman, Black Adam, the Flashpoint movie, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and Fury of the Gods. It's not blind loyalty or blind support. They're DC movies. We can't wait to fucking see them. Imagine, this is the group of people who attacked David F. Sandberg, a man who made a Shazam movie celebrating Snyder's DCEU with Easter eggs and references, right? Did I imagine that? No, I didn't. Imagine attacking that director. They've attacked James Gunn and his historical tweets. It's toxic. It's toxic. I'm not talking about all Restore the Snyderverse people. You know I want the Snyderverse restored. I just don't want to hear this bollocks anymore. When you attack a DC fan convention for the fans, right? And then, what's really funny, they play the victims. We're just trying to support what we're trying to support. You're not. You're supporting it in the wrong way. You're supporting it in a toxic way. You've triggered me. You've driven me away from you, right? I've muted so many of you because I'm sick to death of it. Sick to death of the propaganda merchants, right? So you made an effort to trend higher than DC fandom. So what? As I say, it doesn't change anything. And as I was about to say, when you attack a fan convention for the fans to celebrate these DC universes and DC characters, you upset me. You upset a lot of people. People are getting fed up of you because you are not celebrating Zack's universe in the right way. You are not fighting for Zack's universe in the right way. What studio, whether it's Zaslav and Discovery or WB run by Sarnoff and Kilar right now, who, when you are attacking them, you're attacking their directors, you're attacking the DC president, who in their right mind is going to give you what you want? You say, well, they should because it's going to make money. Yes, it will make a little bit of money. It would do well for them to restore the Snyderverse. No question about that. But it's gone beyond the money because it's become personal. You know how you hate WB, some Snyder acolytes? WB hates you as much as you hate them. Because every time you attack Walter Hamada, every time you attack their talented, hard-working directors and actors, every time you attack Zachary Levi, it doesn't go down well. And it doesn't go down well with me as well. Because as much as I want to celebrate the Snyderverse, because it's a great 3 movies and I do want that arc wrapped up properly by Zack Snyder, even though he's going to be very, very busy from now on with the Rebel Moon franchise, so I don't even know where he's going to find time, but I'm sure he would, because he wants to finish that as well as everybody else. But you're not fighting for this in the right way. You really are not. When I saw what you did trying to out-trend DC fandom was the most underhanded, horrible thing I've ever seen from a fandom. When I was involved with Release the Snyder Cut, and you know that I was, go back to my early days, and I was celebrating when it was announced like everybody else did, and I enjoyed watching it. I've got the Blu-ray, I've got the Blu-ray 4K, I've got Justice is Grey, and I've got the original one, right, on Prime Video. So I've bought everything, I've supported everything. I support Zack Snyder's DC Extended Universe, but I won't support it like you do, attacking other DC characters, directors and actors and content. That every time you attack that, you are hurting somebody who loves it. Do you remember how everyone attacked you, attacked us for our support of BVS and Man of Steel? Do you remember that? And it hurt. And then we came out. And we have, not we, because I'm not like that, but you, some of you people, have become what you fought against. I want you to sit at home on your own when there's no family members, lovers or friends around you and think about your conduct, especially the attacks on David F. Sandberg, who celebrated Zack's DC movies and content in his movie. I want you to think about it before you post it. I really do. Because I think what you did with DC fandom was so toxic. Your posters of the Snyderverse. You really want a DC fandom event, a DC fan event to be just about Snyder's movies. Really? That goes against everything DC stands for. The variety it has. There's so many different iterations. You even get butthurt because John Williams, Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve's Superman theme is the theme for DC fandom. What does that say about you? And how do you know? How do you know that Snyder's movies won't be celebrated at DC fandom? You simply don't. But Snyder hasn't got any upcoming DC movies, so it's about the 5 upcoming movies. It's the HBO Max DC content. That's what they're celebrating. That's what they're marketing, and quite right too. So I want you to think about what you do in future, because what you're doing is, because it's not just about your echo chamber, it's about the outside fans. You could easily get those people's support. While they support the stuff that's upcoming, they could support you as well. But you know why they don't? Because you attack what they love. And when you do that to a person, you're not going to get their support. Think about it very, very carefully. You see, even when I'm a fan of something, I'm very balanced. So I had a little debate with someone in the comments of yesterday's video, and they were defending the box office of Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, the film actually made just under $1 billion, around 950 million. Listen, a film with Batman and Superman in it cannot make under $1 billion. I've worked it out, and I've worked out how many fans across the world Superman and Batman have got combined. And if you do a film that celebrates these characters instead of deconstructs them, as much as I enjoyed that happening, and I understand he was deconstructing them to reconstruct them, and it was cool. But a mainstream audience doesn't want to see their characters, the most famous, epic, iconic characters, deconstructed in a movie. And I explained yesterday, Man of Steel finished in a great positive place. Then we went to emo Superman. Then we went to, depressed Superman. People, that's not the Superman they want to see. And people do not want to see evil Superman. They don't want to see that. They want Superman being Superman. But if Man of Steel was Superman Begins, that's fine. They could have continued on that. He could have learned a lot more from, Jor-El's Force Ghost. Unfortunately, they got rid of his Force Ghost in Man of Steel, which was a bit of a mistake as far as I'm concerned, and he needed his own Fortress of Solitude as far as I'm concerned again. But they're little nitpicks. But you can't defend the box office. The box office was great in its opening weekend because it was a Batman and Superman movie. Once people went back, once people saw what the film was, they didn't go back again. People who liked it did, but there wasn't enough of those people. So ultimately, the film didn't do enough, right? But, that figure is a lot of money, but that film was a very expensive film to make. It's basically a very high-budgeted indie movie. So I like BVS. And we keep on talking about the broader audience, and we talk about the studio's bottom line. And this is why studios like to deal with directors who understand the studio and how a studio works in producing and making films. It is their money after all, and they are their IPs. Now, the reason they interfered so much is because they saw the reaction from the mainstream audience. So there has to be a balance here. And I was having an argument with this person, and not an argument, a debate. I think it was a respectable debate. I enjoyed it. And they were talking, why can't, Joker proves you can have gritty kind of comic book movies, but they shouldn't all be happy and jokey and colourful, and they all shouldn't be gritty and dark. There should be a variety in a franchise. Now, I don't think the MCU has gone down really that dark avenue that much, if at all. I think, Captain America and the Winter Soldier had some dark elements to it, but it still had gags. They're able to mix and match, which is very clever. But in the modern day, you can't have a franchise that's gritty, that's back-to-back gritty and dark. Audiences will not support that type of movie. We are where we are. You have to go where the fashion takes you. You know, in the 70s, they made flares because people wanted to make flares, you know. In the 80s and the 90s, people bought yo-yos, so they made loads of yo-yos. That's the way capitalism works. So you must make the movies that the mainstream want to see. Doesn't mean they can't have nuance, but people want to go to the cinema and feel elevated when they see a movie. When you come out of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, you are elevated as a person. You're walking around and you feel like you can accomplish anything. As we felt after the first Superman film, after we felt, you know, after the first Star Wars film, this is what people want to feel like and want to see after a movie. And I think I felt that way after the first Wonder Woman and the first Aquaman movie. It's as simple as that. And even James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, I kind of felt that way. And I was very happy to be able to view that movie. So that's what audiences want. That doesn't mean DC can't make darker, grittier movies over on HBO Max, or if they market them as darker, grittier movies, especially with the multiverse strategy now. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, Batman vs Superman didn't make enough money for the studio. Man of Steel didn't make enough money for the studio. Now, the Suicide Squad, the first Suicide Squad did, but pretty much everybody hated that film and tarnished that film, so that was a problem as well. Wonder Woman was loved and made money. Justice League didn't make the money it needed to make. And then Aquaman did. The inconsistency continues. Shazam made over 300 million. It had a low budget, so they were happy with that. And then obviously, Birds of Prey was a flop. And, you know, Wonder Woman 84 was during the pandemic, but I think they made a bit of money on HBO Max on it, which is great. And, you know, I've already spoken about my disdain for Wonder Woman 84. But thankfully and gratefully, those movies are just boring placeholders that will be forgotten and deleted with this multiverse strategy. And even if they're not deleted in canon, they'll soon be forgotten. We are doing something very exciting with this multiverse strategy. I don't know exactly what it is. I've just got theories, like you've got theories. I mean, it's interesting. After Shazam! Fury of the Gods, you know, during Shazam! Fury of the Gods, should I say, we're going to know what type of universe and multiverse we're in. So that's really, really exciting. And, you know, I can't hide my glee and excitement that we're going down this direction as a DC fan who's not just a fan of one thing, but is a fan of everything. And I've said it before, I want all fans' tastes included. And this is what Ann Sarnoff was partially talking about in her Variety article, in her Variety interview. And I think Ann, even though I was upset by Ann's interview at first, I now understand what they're attempting to do. So Walter Hamada's plan isn't within Wonder Woman 84 or Birds of Prey. That's not his plan. They're just, as I say, placeholder movies to waste time until we get to these 2022 projects. That's when we see Walter Hamada's plan. That's when we see if he's a good president of DC films or not. You can keep on telling me, and this person I was debating with yesterday was saying, oh, well, look at this film and that film. It doesn't matter. Walter came in the middle of a tough gig. Look at the problems he's had with Ray Fisher. You know, look at the Justice League situation. He had to fix that. And he got involved with James Wan and they fixed it with Aquaman and Shazam as far as I'm concerned. But unfortunately, they made a bit of a mistake with Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman 84, giving Margot Robbie and Patty Jenkins full creative control. But then they were being accused of not giving creatives control. So they did that, and guess what happened? I don't necessarily think artistic integrity and freedom is necessarily a good thing in a comic book extended universe. I don't. Again, look at the success of the MCU. There's not many auteurs in there, right? Because that franchise isn't run by any auteur, it's run by Kevin Feige, a very clever producer, as we discussed yesterday. So I don't think, you know, freedom of creativity in superhero movies may be the best thing. I mean, really, the first Aquaman is more of a studio movie and a combination of a director's movie, but that's a studio and a director working together. It can be done. It's the same with Shazam. It will be the same with Flash. Both entities must work in the same environment. They can disagree, but ultimately, each side must understand that the other side wants the best thing for the movie. The studio side wants to make as much money as possible and potential of more movies as possible, and the director wants to make the best movie. And if you make the best movie, the studio gets what it wants, but you've got to understand the nuances of the audience. Who are you making these comic book movies for? Just Snyder fans? Well, you can't do that in a central universe. It didn't work. There's some brilliant movies in Snyder's movies are brilliant, but they're not mainstream movies. He's even said he doesn't care about the mainstream audience. That's no good. That's no good. That's great that you care about your art, but it's no good for these DC universes and these DC characters to thrive in live action. So we have to change. I have no idea if the Snyderverse will ever be restored. And I'm sure many Snyder acolytes will keep on biting at WB and James Gunn and all these other creators. By the way, the Steven Spielberg project will probably be announced at DC Fandom. I forgot to tell you about that. One of my sources told me that the Steven Spielberg DC project that was greenlit back in 2018, 2019, a long time ago, will be announced at DC Fandom, because that's still going. And I've also been told by my sources that Green Lantern Corps, the movie, will be announced at DC Fandom, so that's also very, very exciting. But at the end of the day, I don't mind Snyder fans fighting for Snyder and his DC vision and arc. That's great, but there's ways of doing it. You can't deny that Man of Steel didn't make a great deal of money. It took a record amount of time to even reach 200 million in the United States of America. That the drop-off for BVS was terrible. That reaching under $1 billion simply wasn't good enough. It hurts me because I love those movies, but it's a fact that they were rejected by the mainstream audience. And as much as Snyder fans hate this and hate the mainstream audience, the fact is there. And let me explain to you, you keep on quoting the money Snyder movies have made, right? It's not enough for the studio. It may be enough for you, but you're not a business trying to, optimize the financial income from these movies. This is why I always try and explain to you people that the studio have a projection and they know how much a Superman movie should make. They know how much a movie with Batman and Superman in it should make. I've told you before, Force Awakens money, no problem. Endgame money, Batman versus Superman should have made that type of money. And anyone denying that is deluded. I'm sorry. It is a delusion of astronomical proportions to say that it's fine that a film with Batman and Superman in it shouldn't earn over $1 billion. Come on. These are the most iconic characters in the history of comic books. They've been around since the late 30s. Come off of it. You can't fool the studio. You think studios are bad, right? But you will never admit the reason the DCEU has been so problematic is because the director, Zack Snyder, and the studio couldn't make it work. Because, as I said a million times, they never brought him in. Christopher Nolan did. It was the wrong way to go at an extended DC extended universe from the very beginning. And that's why it hasn't worked. And that's why you look at the franchise and there's loads of good movies in it, but it isn't a particularly good, cohesive franchise, is it? And I think if you take your bias, because a lot of people are blinded by their bias, and I think that's a problem. So anything you do, like trying to outtrend DC fandom, isn't going to work. The plan is still intact. Flash is still happening. My last word on this and on today's DCEU Daily is Judge Hamada on the Batman, Black Adam, Flashpoint, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and Fury of the Gods and the stuff on HBO Max. That's the stuff you judge him on. And if none of that works, if the multiverse strategy doesn't work, I will be with you saying he has to go, it's done. We don't know what happens when Discovery take over, And there's something that's very exciting for the future of DC live action next year when they take over next summer. We will see. This has been the DCEU Daily here on Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. I will be back in the next video. Remember to like, share, hit the notification bell as well so you never miss a notification, although with what YouTube are doing right now, you probably will. So always look for my videos, search for me in the search bar as well. I am at Movies TV Mad on Twitter, at Movies TV Mad 555 on Instagram, and at Movies TV Mad XXX on TikTok. Until the next time, I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.